do you want to be when you grow up? When the question is asked of little kids, they get all excited. Their eyes light up and they think about all the possibilities. Astronaut, fireman, fighter pilot. They love the question. Ask an older child, someone in high school, they don't like it so much. They're beginning to be pressured by making a good decision, and they're not sure. It's a really important decision, and they're sometimes troubled by it. They don't like the question. When an adult hears the question, often it causes them to be a little wistful. And maybe they begin to wonder, am I really doing what I want to do? Am I actually doing now what I always dreamed I would do? Or am I wasting my life on a job I hate? Sometimes marvel standing over traffic and thinking about all the people rushing to all the places they're going. And I wonder, what is it that drives them? So many of them go to jobs they hate, working for bosses they don't respect, and for income that's not enough. And what do they live for? They live for the possibility of maybe on a weekend they'll get to relax a little bit, or maybe they'll have another vacation. Well, what's driving them? What's their purpose? And maybe for Christians it gets even more complicated, because now we have the God factor thrown in there. Not only do we have to figure out what we want to do to make a living, figure out what we're going to do to enjoy our lives, but we also have to make sure that we're doing what God wants us to do. And sometimes this becomes really mysterious. I know a lot of Christians who almost become crippled, especially at those young ages, and they're trying to figure out what it is that God wants them to do. And they think that maybe there's some sort of mysterious answer will come. They become almost like Gideon, putting out their fleece and hoping that God will give them a definite answer. Yes, I want you to become a missionary to Africa. But the words never come, and it's never that simple. So we're left with the big question: how do we know what God wants us to do? What am I supposed to be doing in life? What am I here for anyway? Well, God does give us answers, and there are some very clear and definite answers. And one of the biggest answers lies in this topic, this notion of vocation. Martin Luther taught about this idea of vocation, and in his day it was a radical idea. Because before Luther, people assumed that if you really wanted to serve God, well, you had to go to the monastery to do it. You had to give your life fully to God and leave the world. Luther thought about this and realized it was nonsense. Luther realized that if you want to serve God, it's really very simple. You do what God has given you to do right where you are. This is why Luther could famously say that the milkmaid can serve God better than a monk in a monastery praying 24 hours a day. And his rationale was this: the milkmaid is doing what she's been given to do and serving fellow creatures around her, while the monk is off away from people and helping no one. So Luther was very serious about this statement, that we serve God right where we are. And that's one of the things we need to realize as Christians. What you're here to do is to serve those who are around you. Serve those that God has put into your life. So vocation teaches us that our priority begins in our near relationships, to our family, to those who are close to us, to those who need us. I know sometimes vocational responsibilities come into conflict. There are times when maybe a pastor has to go and see somebody who's ill, and at the same time his family really needs him to do something they're planning. So you have to have these conflicts, and sometimes they're hard to sort out. But there are some guidelines I believe, and one of the best guidelines is this: ask yourself, what is it that I've been given to do that no one else can do? And this is very helpful, because you see, for example, in my case, no one else can be husband to my wife. No one else can be father to my children. That's my responsibility. Someone else in a pinch can step in and do the professor thing, but I'm the one who can be father and husband. So those really kind of take priority, I believe, and that's pleasing to God. I'm not neglecting God by taking care of my family. That's what He wants me to do. So vocation really sheds some light on this and helps us begin to appreciate how really sacred those kinds of work are. When I'm doing those things, it is sacred work. It honors God. It serves those around me very well. So we begin to get a new appreciation for how vocation leads us into a greater understanding of what we're here to do. We're here to serve those around us. We're here to live for them. And this then, I think, sheds light on a very important point. This notion of what is it that marks success in life? A lot of people are living for self-fulfillment. And they believe that the mark of success is when they're self-actualized, when they're fulfilled, when they're doing what they were made to do, when they're doing what they love to do. Now that's success. I'm going to say that's not true. It's great to do the things you enjoy. It's great to be able to use the talents you've been given. But the real mark of success and the real purpose of your life is not for you to be self-actualized. It's not for you to make a pile of money. It's not for you to retire early and be able to slip off to some South Sea island and enjoy life. No, the mark of success is, am I serving others? Am I living my life for others? You live your life for others. That's what you're here to do. It's not a measure of self-actualization. It is a measure of a life lived for the sake of others. That's what God has put you here to do. And God is well pleased. God is honored when that's what you do. We don't need to knock ourselves out trying to figure out what we want to do. We need to simply pay attention to what we've been given to do and dig in and do it. The world will sometimes scratch its head. Why is it that you're settling for so little, they'll ask. But in fact, you know the truth. You're doing exactly what God has given you to do, and it's a blast. So you see, when you're doing what God has given you to do, you can enjoy it. And you relish life, and you thrive in this situation, doing your vocation. The key, I guess, is learning to love what God has given you to do. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Don't try to find something better. Simply say, this is what I've been given to do. I'm going to learn to love it. I'm going to dig in. I'm going to be the best husband. I'm going to be the best father I can possibly be. Why? Because I'm a creature of God. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve Him. I'm here to honor Him. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so as Christians then, we live our life in God's story. We become part of what He is doing in this world, part of what He's accomplishing. And when we're doing our purpose well, we're living our lives in His story. See, God doesn't come into my life to fulfill me. Too much of the Christian self-help literature has this notion: God will supply your every need. God will make your life meaningful. And it begins to sound like God is some kind of new wonder drug. Take this drug, and now your life will have everything it needs. This is not the way we should be thinking about this at all. In fact, what we should be realizing is God is the one who writes the story. God is the one who's accomplishing His plan. I find my place inside His story. I find my purpose living His way. So God doesn't come into my life to meet my need. I'm living my life in His story to meet the needs of others. It's a completely different way of thinking about it. Book of Ecclesiastes says, whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might. And that's what we do. Our hand finds things near at hand, and we dig in and we do those things. This gives you purpose. This gives you the direction you need in life. It's an exciting thing knowing what you're here to do. It's an exciting thing understanding your purpose in life, because you have that direction. You have that guidance. You have that insight into what it is that God wants you to be doing. And it's really a thrilling kind of life, because you no longer have to wonder, am I really doing what God wants me to do? Because you are. You're here doing your vocation. Now, one last thing I really want to stress here. The purpose in life, then, is very clear. Your purpose in life is to fulfill God's law, which means to be the very best creature you can be. Your purpose in life is not self-fulfillment. Your purpose in life is to serve those around you. You don't measure success in life by how fulfilled you are, how satisfied you are, how much you love your job, or how much you make. You measure your success in life by, am I doing what God has given me to do? Am I serving well those around me? And within those parameters, there's all kinds of freedom. Do the things you enjoy, that's fine. But make sure that you're doing things within God's will, not violating His will, and that you're using your talents, your gifts. And if you can say yes to those two criteria, am I using my gifts, my talents? Am I doing within God's purposes what I need to do? Then do it and dig in and enjoy it. And that's really the secret to your purpose in life and your direction in life. No mystery here, straightforward. Do what God has given you to do. That's what you're here to do, God's purposes.